party? What made me think I could ever survive on my own for 5 minutes? I'm Guildmaster Dan, and welcome to the Fourth Wall. Today, we're talking about splitting the party. When it comes to splitting the party in a game, I have found that different game masters view it differently. Some game masters believe that splitting the party is a negative action. Essentially, for more lethal systems or for more lethal game masters, it's just downright dangerous for any party member or any couple of party members to split off from the rest of the party to go do whatever it is they want to go do, whether that's investigate something or go buy stuff in town. Or, they believe that, you have signed on to play in a game where everybody adventures as a party. And it just doesn't make sense for you to split off and go do your own thing because that bogs down the game because now some people have to sit and wait while I deal with you. Now, on the other hand, I know game masters that have no problem letting the party split and have characters go off and achieve their own goals, and kind of hop between the different players as they're split up and going about their own business. Um, Eventually speaking, every game master is going to have to deal with splitting or the party splitting up, whether that's in town or the players being divided by, say, like a trap or something. Like some people fall onto a floor below, or just like I said before, when they're in town, they just split up to go do their own personal errands and stuff. You're going to have to deal with it, but when it comes to the duration of that split or how dangerous it is, that really comes down to the personal choice of the game master and their own personal style. Let's just look at the actual mechanics of what happens, and how that works. We'll look at it there's really two ways in to consider splitting up the party. Is when you're out adventuring, like on a mission or on a quest, whether you're in a dungeon or behind enemy lines, and when you are in danger or when you are in relative danger, and when you are in safety in like town or back at base or whatever. There's really two different ways to handle it. In either case, when the party splits up, you as a game master now have to focus your attention on each individual group, and you're going to have to hop between them. Now, when you are paying attention to an individual group, the others are sitting without your attention. And if you don't have the right players, that can get boring for the players. Now, you can also minimize that waiting time by getting the feel for a good pace on when to hop between the different groups and the different scenes. Handle their objectives a little bit at a time. Let them, like, let's say that they're in town and the party splits into two groups. The one group has gone off to the temple to specifically ask a favor of the local priest, while the other group has gone off to buy things for the next leg of the trip. Okay, so they go ahead and they split up from the tavern and go off to those two places. Well, you start with the group that goes off to the temple. You describe them arriving at the temple district and finding the temple, and they walk into the temple, and there's a altar boy there who says, "Okay, sure, I'll go off and get the priest." Okay, that's good stopping point because they have to wait. Okay, well, let's hop over to the other players over here. They're going off to buy stuff. Okay, well, we describe them getting to the shop, and seeing what's inside, and they have the shopkeeper there. Or maybe they don't have the shopkeeper. Maybe they have to wait too. Maybe the shopkeeper's in the back. Well, okay, they get to the shop. They kind of look around and see what's there. Okay, there's a waiting point. Let's hop back over to the temple. Okay, well, sure, we walk you up. The altar boy goes and gets the priest. Priest comes over. They have their role playing with the priest. Maybe they ask something of the priest, and we're like, sure, sure, I will do this favor for you, my son. Let me do this for you, and maybe there's some preparation to like the ritual or whatever. He has to go get something. Okay, another great stopping point. Hop back over. Okay, the um, shop owner comes out. Oh, hi, how are you doing? What can I get for you? Let's look at that situation there. All right, you notice how whenever there was a point where there was some waiting to be done or there was some time delay, we hopped to the other group so that we can get their action done. And then when there was a downtime in that, we hopped back. Now, even though you can do that to minimize the amount of waiting time between the groups, that can still get boring for the certain players that I mentioned before. If the players don't learn to use that downtime when your attention is elsewhere to role play with each other, it can still get boring for them. And if they're just not getting that whole, how to best use their downtime thing, that's fine. It it's going to be something that they're going to have to deal with sometimes, but you can always minimize that. You can always encourage them to, stick together as a party. It's just safer that way. Go visit go visit the shop first, then go off to the temple, or vice versa. You can encourage them to do that, and they can start role playing out in the game. It's best to stay in a group. Now, that actually covers the one aspect of it, of how to do splitting the party in a town. So on the flip side, when they are in relative danger, when they are on their mission, or when they're in a dungeon or behind enemy lines, um, the thing to consider when they want to split the party is, first of all, how stupid of a decision is it? How much danger are they in? And how powerful do your players want to feel versus how powerful should they feel? Okay, what do I mean by this? They are in the headquarters of the enemy because they are there to um, retrieve some top secret documentation and assassinate the VIP here. Okay. Now the party decides to split up. They're going to, you guys go over here and capture the documents, and at the same time, because we want to be out of here quickly, we're going to go over and assassinate the VIP. Now, let's look at this from those questions I pointed out. How dangerous is this situation? Okay, well, they're in the enemy headquarters that is crawling with the enemy. This is the heart of the enemy. So it stands to reason that there are going to be a lot of the enemy and that there's going to be very powerful enemies here. Okay, so sounds like a pretty stupid decision, because that doesn't really sound like a necessary split of the party. If it was a different mission, if what they had to do is they were stopping Big Death Machine, and they have to turn off the security to get to the generator to the Big Death Machine, and they have to destroy the generator. But they find out that they can only do that within like 30 seconds time. Okay, that makes sense to split up. But just saving time to get out to get some documentation and kill the VIP sounds like a stupid decision. It's a dangerous place, first of all. Second of all, it also stands to reason that that VIP is going to have pretty heavy guards, in that those guards are going to be pretty powerful because he's a VIP, or she's a VIP, whatever. So, stupid decision, very dangerous place, and unnecessary split of the party. Let them do it because they decide to do it, and because you're going to run the world fairly. But that's a stupid decision, so that tells you how dangerous you should make it. Well, big dangerous guards over at the VIP, and maybe, you know what? Maybe you originally had intended that they go get that documentation first that builds up to that battle, that tough battle that required the full party to handle. Well, that comes down to now your players have to figure out how to handle that. Well, on the flip side, that comes back to you. How powerful do your players want to feel? Well, maybe they want to feel maybe they want to feel confident in their own abilities, that they can handle themselves if they're by themselves. Okay, well, that comes back to how you were thinking of handling the situation. If in that other situation where you kind of intended for them to split up, that's a real easy way to make them feel powerful. You throw some mooks or something at them that, they split up and they can kill them, and that's fine. Whereas in the situation where they're going to attack the VIP and you were building up to that big fight, they show up at the VIP's room, there's only one way in, and there's a squad of of twisted, badass chaos space marines in the way, this is a bit of a problem. Then it falls onto how the players handle it. If they then see those big, badass, twisted chaos space marines and decide to, there's half of us will tackle it head on, they're gonna learn. They're gonna learn when they get beat to shit. Um, but should you, like, because they split up, lower the power level of the thing? Well, that kind of depends on the story, and it kind of falls back on your skill. How does it fit into your game? Should these, or you did not design for these to be mooks. You designed this for this to be a tough fight. Should you lower the power level of this tough fight? Well, will that ruin the gravity of the story? Will that ruin the gravity of the character? Does it make sense for this VIP to have some mooks out in front of him, to make it real easy for them to fight him? Probably not. But you can still work with it. Well, maybe you originally thought of it like, if you manage to get past these guys, the VIP isn't all that hard. You can kill them off. Or maybe you originally thought, these guys are only half the problem. VIP is also really powerful, so you really need to have everybody there. Maybe you could tweak that a little bit because you know that they've split up and they like to feel powerful. You can still make it challenging, but you still want them to feel confident in themselves. That's fine. So, okay, maybe both of them were powerful before. Maybe we'll lower the level of the guards. Like, he's powerful already, so he doesn't really need the big badass guards because he's confident in his own abilities. So now he just has normal, everyday, cultist guards or whatever waiting outside. Well, have enough of them that feels like a challenge, and then the big guy comes out, oh crap! They got to fight him, and, maybe you didn't adjust his power level at all. Well, now they feel like, okay, this is still a hard mission. We wiped away all these mooks, but this guy's really strong. We were weakened a little bit by these guys. This would have been easier if we stayed together, but we can handle this by ourselves if we're smart. Okay, see, that seems perfectly acceptable to me. So ultimately, should you discourage party splits? Well, that largely depends on your situation. There are ways that you can handle it when the party is split up that you can keep the game fast paced and keep it on a decent level of challenge. But at the same time, if your situation has players that they don't handle the downtime of the split up very well, or you're running in a lethal system that doesn't really let you play with the power level of the enemies that they're facing, then you're looking at a situation where, yeah, maybe you should discourage it just because it doesn't really work here. Um, you know, Fantasy Hero, for example, is very lethal, and even if you lessen the number of guards there, it's very easy to die. Um, so it might be a good idea to discourage that splitting up and letting your players know, this isn't so much a good idea. I know you like to feel confident, and if you want to do that, you can, but you're going to have to be smart about your combats because otherwise they can and will kill you. I'm going to run the world fairly. I'm not going to pull punches just because you're splitting up and want to feel powerful. You need to be smart about your combats if you're going to do that. This is a lethal system. Now, in games where the power level is a little bit higher up on the players, like Mutants and Masterminds, it's a lot easier to play with that when they're split up and they're in a dangerous place. You can play with the guards really easy because it's real easy to just switch out what's there to face, and there's not a lot of death to be involved or being knocked out, so it's a lot easier to play with it. So it's a lot easier game to have party splits in. And, maybe they don't handle the downtime so good. Well, there are ways to encourage them to do better with that. Or, maybe you should cut down on the party splitting because they get bored during that time. Ultimately, that comes to preference in your situation. But there's lots of different ways to look at how to handle when the party splits up. And by all means, somebody might disagree with something I had to say. If you do disagree with something I had to say, or you have something to add, please feel free to leave a comment below. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can keep the conversation going. And as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.